Good evening. We're going to get this meeting started. We're going to call the meeting to order at 7:01 p.m. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. First order of business is the approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve?
Ms. Smith makes a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Collins. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye passes 4-0. Next item is the consent agenda. Item A, the approval of minutes, regular meeting minutes from 6/6/2024, special meeting minutes from 6/13/2024, the approval of minutes from the executive session on 6/6/2024, and the school bus inspection reports from June 3rd and 14th of 2024. Do I have a motion for the consent agenda? So moved by Mr. Collins.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Vogel. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that passes 4-0. For the record, we will state that Mrs. Feather, Mrs. Rogalski, and Mrs. Friedman are absent this evening. Next is personnel announcements. Mrs. Strezek.
Thank you. We have two appointments this evening. We have Mindy Thoreau. She's the new HR Confidential Assistant and Benefits Coordinator, effective 6/18/2024. And Rachel Powell is our new Building Principal Preschool Center, effective 7/1/2024. We have one unpaid personal leave of absence for the 24-25 school year, Emily Ewick, music teacher at Ashton and Cumberland Hill. And we have 4 resignations. Effective 6/30/2024, we have Brianna Ronsley, special education teacher at Ashton. And we have 3 from teachers that were on leave of absence this past school year: Jennifer Slaughter, kindergarten at B.F. Norton; Holly St. Pierre, Spanish teacher from the high school; and Heather Thorburn, grade 6 English at McCourt. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Strezek. I just want to say that it makes me very sad that we've lost Mrs. Slaughter to another district. She was one of our outstanding kindergarten teachers. Dr. Thornton for the superintendent's report.
Mr. Chair, first we have.
I'm sorry, Dr. Thornton. I got excited when I saw you at the mic. I need to report out of executive session meeting. Item A is report out of executive session meeting minutes from June 27, 2024. There were no votes taken tonight, and I need a vote to seal the minutes of the executive session.
Motion to seal.
By Ms. Smith,
Second.
by Mrs. Vogel. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 4-0. Now, Dr. Thornton, please.
Good evening, Mr. Chair. First, we do have one retirement. If we can call up Marion Barone while we talk about her, please come on up, Marion. First, working at the post office and retiring from the post office, Marion then came to us and worked here for 10 years. And before I present this highly coveted beach bag, I want to have Ms. Strezek say a few words.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure to speak about the career and contributions of someone who has been an invaluable part of our Cumberland School Department for 10 years. Marion Verone, our HR Assistant and Benefits Coordinator, is retiring and is with mixed emotions that we bid her farewell. Throughout her tenure here, Marion has been more than just an HR assistant. She has been a cornerstone of support, guidance, and efficiency for all of us. Her dedication to her work and her commitment to helping others have left an indelible mark on the school department. Marion has been the go-to person for countless individuals, whether it was navigating the complexities of benefits, resolving payroll issues, or simply providing a sympathetic ear when needed. Her professionalism, kindness, and unwavering positivity have made her not only a respected colleague, but also a cherished friend to many. As Marion embarks on this new chapter of her life, we reflect on the countless ways she has touched our lives. Her legacy of integrity, compassion, and dedication will continue to inspire us long after her departure. Marion, I want to express my deepest gratitude for your years of service and commitment. You have made a lasting impact on all of us, and we will miss you dearly. We wish you all the best in your well-deserved retirement. May it be filled with joy, relaxation, and new adventures.
Marion, thank you very much. And a little bit, please.
It was worth it just to get this bag.
Yep, here you are. Hey, a picture. Just let it a little bit.
I warned them if I got up here, it might be a problem. He may not get me out. But I did want to say thank you, and mostly to Dr. Thornton. In his first tenure here, he was the person that hired me. And Tina Fogel-Martin took a chance on somebody who had already been in the workforce, 35 years, with 25 years already in HR. But I was ready to step back and get somebody's coffee if I needed to, as long as I could stay in the field. And I remember my second interview was with Dr. Thornton and Tina, and he was asking a few questions, and I said to him, well, I looked over your contracts. And he says, well, would you look over our contracts for us? I said, HR, that's kind of what I do. And he goes, oh, you don't have to look at the contracts. And then he said, I said, well, if you hire me, he goes, oh, you're already hired. So I always remember that and I just sat there, I was like, okay, I guess I'm here. So it's been a great 10 years. I have had great HR managers. Bonnie has been wonderful to work with. Mike, even Tim, our newest, everyone that's here. It's been a wonderful experience, and I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'll come bug everybody up every so often. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Now then, call up Mr. Crowley if we have a couple of recognitions. Mr. Crowley.
Thank you, Dr. Thornton, members of the school committee. We have a few student athletes who we'd like to recognize. One is in person. Let's talk about the three who couldn't make it this evening, who shined for us this spring. Sophomore Julia Nault was a Division II girls golf champion. She shot an 82 at Winnipeg down in Westerly on June 4th. It's a very challenging but yet beautiful scenic course down there if you've ever played Winnipeg. So Julia followed up her All-State nod in the main tournament by being the state champion. Recently graduated Grace Blyer was a two-time state champion at the outdoor track state meet. She won the long jump with a jump of 18.4 and the triple jump with a jump of 36.11.5. We have another athlete, student athlete who each school nominates two names to the Interscholastic League for major awards. And we are fortunate enough for the second year in a row that we had one of our student athletes receive such an accolade. Nolan Rogalski received the RIIL Leadership and Service Award, and in my nomination of him to the league, I put he's the epitome of what a Cumberland High School student athlete looks like, and Nolan really, really does that. He's involved with National Honor Society, Language Honor Society, cross-country, indoor track, outdoor track. He has leadership positions, all involved with government, captain of his team. So Nolan, for the second year in a row, one of our student athletes got recognized. The one young man who is here capped off his brilliant high school career in grand fashion by winning the 1,500 meter at the state meet in a time of 3:56.6.
Please convert that, Mr. Crowley.
That's a 4:14 mile. I don't know if I even drive that fast, but he's going to continue his academic and athletic career at Stonehill College, where he's going to run track. And having watched Will over the last 3 or 4 years grow into the student athlete, into the runner he is, he's going to do great things in his life. He's an outstanding young man, and we're, I guess, proud to call you an alum now, right? Yeah. Congratulations, Will. You have a certificate? Come on, Will.
And last but not least, we have our construction update. We're talking about Ashton, as you know, and we're into that part of the time. It's our third go-around now, our third reno, right? So picture on the left, that's the nurses' station. It's coming into shape. One to the middle is the cafeteria. The new ceiling grids are in. The walls are painted, so that's starting to move along. Down below, the technology is in. It comes in and it is assembled in each location. That's how it looks right now in the classrooms. On the right, that flooring is finished now. That was a Tuesday picture. I saw it today. It's completed. That's the old part of the building with the new flooring and the paint and new ceilings. That's happening. On the left, all the cabinetry is in all the classrooms. Lower section here, that's one of the common areas. You can see that's taking shape. In the middle here, middle picture, it's just showing you some of the borrowed lights that are in and the ceiling grids are in. Far side, just more of the same. And bottom right, the bathrooms are in. We're just protecting them right now with some paper to kind of keep it all safe. That's moving along. Here, interesting, this was on Tuesday, and that was today. That's the bump out of the stage for Ashton. So they're really moving fast. That's just a couple days. Also, I think I sent you all a picture last week of some digging we did behind Ashton. Essentially, we had a problem from the 1990s, a flood area in the back of Ashton. It was never really dealt with. It was kind of like antique French drain back there, so we had to have you approve a change order for $46,000, and we got to be where we now have the water flowing all around the back of the building to the front of the building. We also this week solved the drain problem on the playground. That was all torn up and redone. So moving along, absolutely on budget and absolutely on time. So it's good to also at the same time just see, be more pictures. Thank you. So I mentioned this. This is the drain work we did in the back, and that was just done. That's the playground drain work. That's where the drain runs in the end. I know it's not too exciting for all of you, but for me, it's exciting to see these things happen quickly. So we are actually moving along quite fast. Also, in tandem with this, community gets moved out into this location. Well, Ashton gets moved out of here back to their place. So it's quite the job of maneuvering all these different pieces. Right now, Will's team is waxing rooms upstairs to drop community stuff from community right to the classrooms. So that's happening as we speak. So it is all moving, and happy to answer any questions on Ashton or community.
Dr. Thornton, when is the preschool moving?
We actually met this morning, our preschool. We met with the fire marshal, the building inspector, and we got kind of the conceptual approval. We're not moving them just yet. I don't have the exact time. On July 11th, I'll bring it to you, but right now our focus is on Ashton and community. We have to move 7 classroom locations over there, so it's not as big a lift. But right now, we still have to do things like build the temporary wall to separate construction from the preschool area and get the partitions in, that kind of thing.
I know this sounds like probably a silly question, but do we need to replace the toilets at community for the preschool?
Actually, no, we're actually doing a one-year accommodation with little stairs, if you will,
Oh,
that we
okay.
use to accommodate them, whether it's a sink or a toilet, so we covered that base.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is reports of standing committees. First, Mr. Collins, the Fiscal Management Subcommittee update, please.
Yes, the Fiscal Management Subcommittee met this evening. It was actually a very brief meeting. We have 13 resolutions for the committee tonight, and we just did the monthly budget projection. We're projecting a surplus this year. The end of the fiscal year is not over yet, and during facilities, we were just addressing some of the storm damage that may have happened last night. It does not appear to be anything significant, so thank you.
Dr. Thornton, by the way, on the front of the building, the sidewalk, there's a branch that fell from one of the trees, and it's partially blocking the sidewalk. Can we get facilities to clean that up so that
Yes.
members of the public can walk down the street, or walk down the sidewalk? Next is the Policy and Procedures Subcommittee update, which is me. We had a meeting for the first time in probably a month and a half. We had been trying to resolve some of these policies. I'm very happy to report that all 5 policies have been amended and voted on. They are staff hiring, anti-bullying, transgender, somebody needs to pay the electric bill, school improvement teams, and the new pesticide management policy, which will be discussed later on. At this time, we do have public comment for those policies. I'm sorry, those are not, I'm losing my mind. That is the Policy and Procedures update. Next is Achievement and Communications, which has not met, I believe.
We've met in quite some time.
Okay, and the District Health and Wellness Subcommittee update, I don't think they meet for the entire summer, if I'm not mistaken.
She did, yeah, she
Yeah.
said at the last meeting, there'd be no summer meetings.
Okay, so now we have the public hearing. So we will first have a reading of the amended policies, G10, staff hiring, J4, anti-bullying, A7, transgender and non-binary policy, plus we have the reading of new policies for their first reading, which is C2, school improvement teams, and F5, pesticide management. I would just ask for those to be read into the record. And now we have public comment for any of those policies. If anyone would like to come up to the microphone, you would have 3 minutes to speak. And please just state your name and address for the record. Oh, right over here.
School committee members. As a school board member myself in Providence, an officer at the Rhode Island Association of School Committee Members as well.
I'm sorry, name and address, please?
Oh, my name is Tony Aiken, 86 Metcalf Street in Providence, Rhode Island. As a school board member myself and an officer at Rhode Island Association of School Committees, and a newly elected member of the American Indian and Native Alaskan Council, I came here before you this evening to express my deep concerns about your deviation from the RIDE guidelines in your policy of reviewing the transgender and non-binary students. My niece is a newly resident of this wonderful town, and her partner is non-binary, and they plan on extending their family soon. It is crucial that we create a safe and inclusive environment for all students, regardless of their gender identity and their expression. I am also a member of the LGBTQ community, and I knew this at a very young age. In high school, my date was my girlfriend, and there was no issues at all with my classmates, and that was 40 years ago. The RIDE guidelines, there has been no recent incidents reported, and we must proactively address any potential negative impact on the transgender and LGBT community in our students. All students deserve a safe place to learn and grow and feel a sense of belonging. I lost my own nephew to suicide at the tender age of 18, right after he graduated from high school in 2007. So I understand the importance of supporting students struggling with their identity as he was. And I'd like to remind everybody that this is Rhode Island, where Roger Williams founded the freedom of expression, and is a primary reason why I settled here almost 20 years ago with my wife, who is a native Rhode Islander. As public officials, it's our duty to protect the rights of all public school students. And the Safe School Act enacted in 2017 ensures that all students are safe from discrimination, harassment based on sexual identity and gender identity. Although,
I'm sorry, you're out of time. You can speak again at the next public
yes,
comment,
I
if you'd like to
can't-
finish your
okay.
comments then.
Thank you, honorable school members. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone like to speak at this time? Please come up to the podium. And just state your name and address for the record, please.
Robert Caradillo, Westerly, Rhode Island. I'm here this evening as part of my statewide mission to speak at school committee meetings in all 36 districts in Rhode Island to inform you and everyone here and those watching at home that no district is obligated to comply with RIDE's misleading and untruthful transgender guidance policy or the hijacking of Title IX. This is excellent timing as I'll begin my remarks during this public hearing and conclude them during the comments to the public, which immediately follows. RIDE guidance is not law. This committee already knows this, yet it continues to support and now reinforce a policy which discriminates against 99% of Cumberland's school population. Under this guidance, boys identifying as girls are allowed to utilize the same bathrooms and locker rooms as girls, compete against girls athletically, and room with girls on overnight field trips. Teachers are compelled to utilize pronouns as per the student's sexual identity, and there is no mandate in the school, that the school inform parents should their child decide to socially transition at school. This must change, and it's beginning to, but not here. You double down on some already harmful and discriminatory aspects of the former policy with this new one. You make no bones about your willingness to hide the student's preferred name and pronoun from parents, allowing them to secretly socially transition at school while continuing to compel teachers to use the student's preferred name and pronoun. This will get you sued, and I will get to that. You also made it clear that if the 99% of the students who aren't confused with their sexual identity don't like the restroom, locker room, changing facilities policy, they can find another alternative. Besides this being unfair, unsafe, and unlawful, it's also flat out wrong and will also get you sued. Less than 2 weeks ago, the American College of Pediatricians issued a statement calling on all other major medical associations to, and I quote, immediately end promotion of social affirmation, puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and surgeries for children and adolescents who experience distress over their biological sex. You can see the full statement and video at acpeds.org. Numerous other countries have already stopped these barbaric practices. A simple solution to the bathroom, locker room issue is to enact a policy that any student who is uncomfortable using the facilities of his or her biological birth may use a private, one-person occupancy facility. No distinction should be made for students who are confused with their sexual identities. If need be, convert present lavatories and changing areas to private rooms. Problem solved. Every district has bullying policies
I'm
which
sorry, sir,
include all
I have to
kids.
cut you off there.
I'm done.
Okay,
I'll come back for the next segment.
okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Would anyone like to speak, please? Please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, can you hear me? My name is Isabel, and I'm from East Greenwich. I am here not just in support of RIDE's Guidance for Rhode Island Schools on Transgender and Gender Nonconforming Students Initiative, but more importantly, trans students, not just in Cumberland, but across Rhode Island. It should not have to be said, but trans kids are worthy of protection, and it is crucial that they receive it. It is important that schools provide a safe haven for trans students, many who sadly cannot find that safety and acceptance at home. Trans people and their presence are vital to all communities, and we cannot take for granted the light, beauty, and insight that they bring to them, and have throughout history for hundreds and hundreds of years. My support for the trans community will never waver, especially as someone with trans friends and family, those who have brought so much joy into my life. It is our responsibility to keep trans kids safe and create environments in which they are welcome and at home, where they feel welcome and at home, not ones where they feel alienated. Inclusion is not exclusion. Trans people are not a threat. People who think they are more of a threat than they are. Being certain in your sexual and gender identity is not confusion. Gender affirmation care saves lives, and everyone uses pronouns. Thank you. Happy Pride Month.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, seeing none, we will move on to in the agenda. So the first item of old business is discussion and/or vote on school start and end times for 24-2025. Dr. Thornton. I'm going to blame my computer. So now we do have the general comments from the public, and this could be on anything other than just the policy that were read into the record. So if anyone would like to finish their comments or offer new comments, please step to the podium.
Your Title IX policy is inaccurate and parrots the current administration's hijacking of this law. Title IX, which was adopted in 1972, as many of you know, was written to protect women from discrimination based on sex, not men identifying as women. It is not the same thing. Nowhere within Title IX is gender identity ever mentioned. Not only do the Biden administration's illegal rewrite and hijacking of Title IX, as well as RIDE's current guidance, not prevent discrimination on the basis of sex, they mandate it. Boys do not belong competing with girls athletically. It is both unfair and unsafe for our girls. Both of these policies put our young people, especially our girls, in uncomfortable and unsafe situations. I hope Cumberland parents will not accept this. I certainly do not, and I will fight this with everything I have for as long as it takes. 20 states are currently suing the Biden administration over Title IX, 10 successfully thus far, citing the exact reasons I mentioned earlier. Many, if not all, of the remaining 10 will also win. Others will join. Those that don't, as well as districts that don't, will be sued by their own residents and families. Your choice. And every single one of those families with kids affected by your trans and Title IX policies will have standing in court. Your solicitor knows this. One cannot legally seek to protect a segment of the population while simultaneously discriminating against the other 99% of that population. The Westerly School Committee's new policy, when completed, will right the wrongs I mentioned earlier. Your new policy must do the same. This one doesn't. You'll need to rewrite it again. To be clear, no matter how much a boy wants to be a girl, act like a girl, dress like a girl, he will never be a girl. Never. Same with girls identifying as boys. This is not an indictment of these kids. It is fact. Following Westerly's lead and writing your own policy would make certain that Cumberland's kids get the safety and privacy they all need and deserve. Get this on another agenda within 30 days and draft a new policy. I promise you, we will hold this committee and this district leadership accountable. God bless the families of Cumberland and the children of Cumberland, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you for your time.
Would anyone like to speak, please? Please state your name and address.
June Arribas, 14 Rose Street. I'm here today, even though I haven't been to one of these in like 20 years, because I have seen what public school has done to my children. And I agree with everything that Bob Caradio has said, and I've been to other meetings besides this one that he's spoken at. It infringes on my right to be a mom, to be told other things, and to see, and the transparency of knowing what my children are learning is, I haven't seen a student handbook in ages. I've always asked my kids for them, but I haven't seen one. What other things? My kids, sometimes when they talk amongst themselves, they say things that are shocking to me, that I have no idea where they got the terminologies from, and I can only assume that they got it from here. All right? Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Just for an FYI, the handbooks are all available on the school department website. Would anyone else like to speak? Seeing no one, we are going to move on. Next is the discussion and or vote on a school start times and end times for 2024-2025. Dr. Thornton.
Mr. Chair, as you recall, a little while back, we had a compromise solution with RIDE on a modified schedule, which was approved by RIDE. Since that time, The House and Senate, as I understand it, did pass the legislation that would let us go back to what we had previously with our early release Wednesdays. As of this hour, it's my understanding the governor has not signed the bill, and tomorrow, as I understand it, if it's not signed, it'll go into law regardless. So, should this happen, we already wrote RIDE a new letter requesting to rescind the old approval and try to seek the schedule we had previously. Should this happen, we would publicly show you the schedule on July 11 and go through the bus schedules and all that type of thing. Essentially, either way, it's the same start times. It just really impacts the end times.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Dr. Thornton on the school start times? Ms. Smith, sorry.
Thank you. Dr. Thornton, I just want to look at that a little bit more. We understand that, you know, a lot of people, your administration, the school committee, the teachers union, everybody worked really hard to get the change that we needed to get the early release Wednesdays back. And that would be the ideal, and that's what we're hoping, that we'll have the final approval, even though it's passed. So the governor may or may not sign it. If he doesn't sign it, or if he doesn't appeal it or veto it, either way, it just goes into law. So that is the goal, and that's what we're anticipating, so that we will go back to just early release Wednesdays. So not to be confused, I know that we passed it a few months ago, and there was a lot of confusion online and in social media that we were moving all the schedules. The goal is to get back to Wednesdays, and just Wednesdays for that common planning time.
That's correct, and I'll share that schedule with you next week, should tomorrow take place and it not be signed and it be law.
Great. So parents really should be looking at this in their preparations and their planning and things, that is the anticipated goal that has to follow the law that has been passed with the General Assembly, and hopefully just breezes through tomorrow.
That is the goal.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Thornton. New business, discussion and or vote to approve amended policies. First is G10, staff hiring. The only change that we've made to this policy is, and I will actually read the entire paragraph, under teachers, certified teaching personnel, and support staff, a preference shall be given to candidates who are proficient in English and Spanish and or another language spoken by multilingual students and families in the district for positions requiring the education support of multilingual learners. This preference will help preserve and develop the native language skills of multilingual learners in accordance with Rhode Island regulations. The need for this arrived where we just had a system where somebody that didn't speak any other language could take over one of these positions, where we can actually have more of an impact on a student and a family's education by having a bilingual person in that position. So we are putting this into the policy, and I would make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 4-0. Next item is J4, anti-bullying. This is a policy that we've been trying to update for some time. Mr. Damana and his office did some great work on this with some help from the special education office. There is just a lot to go through. There was one late change that went in today on the amended version, which was just some short language. Let me see if I have it here. I'm not sure which version I have. No, I don't. Let's see this one. Nope. No, it's just I got it right here, though. I have it somewhere. I just have to find it. I do not have it on this copy either, that I can see. Yeah. Do you have it in front of you?
I do not. I apologize.
Okay.
The one I have on there is the
All right, hang on one second. Did everyone see? I'll just read the language and then. Sorry for the delay. this might be. It's in here somewhere, because I know I saw it, but give me 1 second, because I can do this right from the floor, actually. Is that where it is?
Yeah.
Okay, I've got it right here, though.
J4.
All right.
Do you want to cover my number?
Do you have it?
I have it right here.
The Title IX section?
I see it right here. I just want to leave the mic on so people know what's happening. Title IX.
This is the 625.
All right, so I'm going to make a motion to table this.
Hang on one second.
Up here, I have the actual
Oh,
language,
okay.
and I will read it. It's just one simple sentence. Yeah, so the section that was added under procedures for bullying incidents doesn't really change the policy much. It was just a clarification that Ms. Smith had asked for, and one of our attorneys at Barton Gilman provided for us today. States, bullying incidents alleged to be on the basis of sex as defined by Title IX will be investigated pursuant to the district's Title IX policy, and then in parentheses, it says, see policy A5, which is our Title IX policy, on the district's website. That is the only change that was made to this policy. Do you have anything that you'd like to add, Ms. Smith? Because this was really a part of what you wanted.
Right, and then just when we had the policy meeting the other day, which was, of course, was a public meeting as well, we looked at that, and I just wanted to make sure, a lot of these policies cross over each other. So Title IX, the bullying, the harassment, and they're all interwoven in different ways, and I wanted to make sure that we weren't relying solely on a Title IX item being put into a bullying policy. Those are absolutely given top priority. They're managed differently. There's a Title IX administrator over it. So I felt that the wording was important just to put that sentence in there so that there was complete clarification on the topic.
So would you like to make a motion to amend?
So I'd like to make a motion to amend, now I'm going to take my glasses off, policy J4, anti-bullying, to add the sentence that Mr. Fiorello has just given us.
Ms. Smith makes a motion to amend this policy. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Fogel. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The amendment passes 4-0. Now I just need an motion to approve the amended policy. By Mr. Collins. Second by Mrs. Vogel. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The amended policy passes. Next, thank you very much for your patience. Let me just see if I can find my agenda again. All right. Next is A7, the transgender and non-binary policy, pardon me. As everyone knows, Cumberland was the first district in the state to pass this policy, which came about because there was a need for it. We've had this policy since 2016. I remember specifically a school committee association meeting where there was a discussion trying to ensure that all the districts actually create a system to be able to manage this. And at the time, there was no guidance from RIDE, so districts were pretty much left on their own. As such, Dr. Santa, who was the special education director at the time, wrote this policy. I met with groups of parents and students who were affected by this. I also met with people that were not in favor of the policy at all. It was a pretty thorough process over many months. We created this policy. And as such, after a few years of this and different guidance from RIDE, there was just a few items that they wanted to be clarified in our policy, which were not clarified. One being the dress code, that they want the gender-neutral dress code. My argument was we didn't need a statement, seeing as our dress code is gender-neutral, but they wanted it, so we just added a brief paragraph into it. We also had to add the language about the professional development that will be done around it, so that was also added. And also, there was a small section on the process in which students, that's the wrong policy. Got too many policies in this past meeting. Yeah, just talking about the student transitions, which is what we've been doing all along, but Rye just wanted to be clarified in the policy. So that's all we did. We just, I wish you would.
Dr. Thornton, I have a question. This policy's been in place since 2016. Do you know offhand how many documented cases we have of students who identify as the opposite gender entering a different bathroom and assaulting, or do we have any documented cases of assaults or anything of that nature?
I'd have to check. Nothing comes to mind. As you know, I wasn't here from 16 to 21.
I can answer that, actually.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Thank you.
There's been no incidences of any kind. The policy was specifically written to allow either a trans student or a cisgender student to use, if they were uncomfortable using a public restroom or a changing room, there would be the accommodation for those students so that everybody could be comfortable in their space. And I can tell you that we have had many students that have transitioned while in school, and we feel that we have hopefully have saved lives because it is the most leading cause of teen suicide is by transgender children. So this policy is very important, and it is one of the policies that I am personally proud of over my last 12 years.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Second by Mrs. Vogel. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 4-0. Thank you. Next is discussion and or vote to approve the first reading of new policies. C2, school improvement teams. This policy did come up before us a couple of months ago. We had considered some changes, but nothing has changed since the original time that we brought this policy. I believe everyone's had a chance to read it. It is something that I wrote in conjunction with state law, our attorneys, and Mr. Damana, our assistant superintendent. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Then I would just ask that we don't really need to, but I will ask for a vote on the first reading.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Collins, second by Mrs. Vogel. All in favor? Aye. That passes 4-0. This will be on the next agenda for the final vote. Next is the F5 pesticide management policy, which I'll be very honest with you. I find this policy a little silly, only because pesticide management is not handled the way it was in the 1970s, and we only use very environmentally friendly, safe products that are safe for students, safe for animals, and any time that we need to bring in an actually outside company, they have a lot of restrictions themselves, what can be done inside of a school property. However, some of the big aspects to this policy is we will now need to maintain a registration list of any staff member or family member that wants to be notified at least 24 hours before any application of pesticide, which only stands for certain formulas that are based on the labeling of the pesticides. Most of our day-to-day pesticides are all very green, and they do not cross that threshold. It is all laid out in the policy. Also, there is a procedure to how to handle emergency applications of pesticide and how the people from that initial list would be notified as soon as possible after the emergency application of the pesticide is done. The other item is that we need to appoint a pesticide management coordinator, which is going to be the director of facilities. In this case, it's going to be Mr. DeJesus. And we also needed to appoint an advisory committee for pesticide management, which in the policy it states that the Health and Wellness Committee will serve as that advisory committee. Since it is a health and wellness aspect, I think it's a natural thing to add to their list. So that's just the, if we'd like to approve those readings, I would be open to a motion. Motion by Mr. Collins.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Vogel. All in favor? Aye. That passes 4-0. Thank you very much. Next is our very exciting discussion and our vote to approve architect for the new B.F. Norton School Project Stages 3 and 4, with a recommendation submitted by the Buildings and Renovations Committee. I will say that we voted unanimously to endorse the group that's going to be coming up, but I'm going to hand it over to Anne Marie Andrade from Colliers, who will speak to this. Hello. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. So I'm here to provide an update on the B.F. Norton Elementary School Architectural Designer Selection. So we posted the request for qualifications in May 17th to be exact. Those proposals were due back June 7th. We received about 8 proposals from architects and designer firms. From there, we went through an evaluation process working with 5 reviewers to sort of dwindle it down and recommend interviewing for the top 3 architectural firms. So those top 3 were AI3 Architects, Slam Collaborative, and Studio Jade. Based on the outcome of those interviews, which were held on June 24th, it was basically based on the outcome of the interviews, the building committee had voted that same night to award the architectural services for B.F. Norton Elementary School to AI3 Architects. Per RIDE's latest regulation, in order to receive housing aid for construction projects, the school districts need to have either an architect or construction manager under contract before June 30th. So that could be a letter of intent or notice to proceed by June 30th. So our next steps would be to work with AI3 and Colliers will work together to receive their draft proposal. From there, we will put it together, review it for Cumberland to review and ultimately approve. And then we'll coordinate a date to have a kickoff meeting with all parties the week of July 8th. In addition to that, we'll put together another request for proposal for a construction manager for B.F. Norton Elementary School. That proposal will include all of the smaller additional capital improvement projects. And ultimately, the goal will be to have a construction manager on board by August 2024.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just in case there's questions, Dr. Thornton, do you have anything to add?
Well, I just know AI3 is here. If I could have them please come up and say a few words, but as they're coming up, I just want to say I was part of the team that interviewed 3 groups, and this team was tremendous, truly. There were 8 folks that came, and there was quite an impressive group, so I'm really excited to bring them in front of the committee tonight. So if I could turn it over to AI3.
Yeah, I would just echo Dr. Thornton's comments. I was there, of course, as the representative from the school committee on the building committee. And their presentation, their professionalism, and their vision was outstanding. So I'm very happy to have you here tonight.
AI3 Architects, and Alex Sieving is also joining me today. She was part of the interview team and a project architect. So I'm usually not at a loss for words, but I'm still completely over the moon that you guys selected us. There was a lot of cheering in our office when we heard from Colliers the good news. We're so excited to be part of this community and to help yourselves and the entire community and, of course, the students of Cumberland, where our job is to deliver the best elementary school in the country. That's what we strive for in each and every project, and you're going to be no different in that pursuit for excellence for your students. So it was a pleasure to interview. We tremendously thank the selection committee and all the work they put into it, and of course the school committee for endorsing the selection. So we're excited to have the kickoff meeting and get things rolling, and we're here to serve you. First and foremost, your ideas and thoughts matter tremendously, and it will really guide this process. So we're looking forward to the collaboration on this very important project. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I look forward to it, as my children went to BF Norton, so BF holds a very special place in my heart, and I will be involved.
Got it. We look forward to it.
Thank you. So, next is we need to actually vote on the approval of the AI3
Yes, please.
firm. Motion by Ms. Smith. Second by Mrs. Vogel. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 4-0. Thank you very much, folks. Next is discussion and/or discussion and/or vote to approve Torado Architect for multiple school projects. Number one is the Cumberland Preschool interior renovations and security projects, the McCourt Middle School Science Lab renovations and security projects, the North Cumberland Middle School Science Lab renovations and security projects, the North Cumberland Middle School security and elevator lift replacement, which is a huge deal, the Cumberland High School roof replacement and security projects, the Ashton Elementary School Phase 2 interior renovations, and the Community Elementary School Phase 2 interior renovations. Dr. Thornton, I will let you take this.
Right, so the first 5 are what I would call our smaller jobs in Cumberland. Last 2 are 2 elementaries. Once again, for stages 3 and 4, we have to get an architect under contract by June 30. So the plan here is we have Torado enrolled, if you will, or signed up for these contracts. So we're looking for your approval tonight.
Seeing as they're all going to Torado, I would ask for one single vote for all 7 items, if there is not any objection. Seeing none, if anyone would like to make a motion.
Make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Collins. Second, and I'm assuming that these are motions to approve.
Oh, yes. of course,
Okay.
yes.
I just want to clarify that.
Keep thinking of motion,
Yeah.
whatever you want.
Yeah, whatever.
A motion to approve, I beg your pardon.
All in favor? Aye. So that is approved 4-0. Thank you, Louis Torado, for that work. Next is discussion and/or vote to approve resolutions, and I will hand this over to Mr. Collins.
All right, let's go. All right, we have 13 resolutions, SCPR-06-2024-92 through 104. All 13 resolutions passed Fiscal Management Subcommittee 3-0, and I'd move passage to the full committee.
I'm sorry, that was a motion for all 13?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Mr. Collins makes a motion to approve all 13. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Vogel. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that passes 4-0. Next up is school committee comments and school liaison reports. Does anyone have anything to add, to offer? No. I will just say that last week, the week before, was one of my great pleasures of being on the school committee, which was attending the BF Norton and Garvin Elementary School 5th grade graduations, which is it's such a nice event. I would recommend anyone that can try to make the time to go to do these in the future. So I just want to say thank you for those schools for including me these last several years. That is something I will miss.
I'll add something.
Sure.
I don't think we have not met since high school graduation,
Right.
and I just want to thank the facilities people, well, of course, the graduates, the faculty for being there and the honor of graduating, but there's a lot of work that goes into setting that up now that it's over at Tucker, and we've been blessed with good weather. Even with the heat, it was a little hot, you had to make an executive decision to move it up. I was a little less sweaty since you moved it up to 7:30 instead of 6, but thank you for doing that. It was a beautiful night, so congratulations to not only the graduates, but also the parents and caregivers and family. It was a great night, so.
All right, next is a vote to go into executive session, which we do not have, I believe.
We do not.
Thank you, Dr. Thornton. Next is one of my favorite items on the agenda, adjournment. Motion to adjourn by Ms. Smith.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Vogel. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned at 7:55 PM.
I thought it was gonna